Welcome to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. Team USA somehow continues a Cinderella run in the WBC tournament. Owen, I'm scared because tonight the very opinionated Team USA goes up against a very quiet and focused Dominican Republic team. I'm terrified.
So I am scared in the sense of like winning and losing, right? But what I love about baseball and sports in general is the opportunity for greatness. And that is what is displayed to both the Dominican Republic and the United States today. It is absolute cinema. It's what everyone wanted. It's what everyone circled on their bingo card when this tournament started. The Dominican Republic and the United States, that talent on the field, the only comparable sense in like history is like an all-star game, right? But you know how the
Yeah.
All-Star game is. It's just basically for the fans, it's something nice, something chill, give the players a break. This is everything. I don't think it's everything for the United States because we've kind of seen that, and that has been disappointing, but that's not going to take away my joy from what the Dominican is doing, what Venezuela did last night. And it's just like, you just have to sit back and enjoy. When Willie Abreu hit that homer, granted, I had Venezuela's money line and I had Italy's money line the game before, so I won some change. Going to throw it back on the United States, but it was just like so electric to where it's like, no matter what happens the rest of the tournament, this has been the best WBC, and I think it's only going to get better. But yeah, I'm freaking stoked, dude. Like, get me to 8 p.m., get me to the pregame, get me to Skeens just being so stoic on the mound. And before you get into it, everyone's saying the United States are, what's the word, boring, all that stuff. Their celebrations just this. Can we just appreciate the Venezuela, Dominican, Italy, the way they do things without having to compare it to the United States, because that's not the United States makeup. They're going to jump around when they absolutely need to in the sense of a big moment, but they've only had that Schwarber home run against Great Britain to kind of have that reaction to where it's like, it wouldn't be authentic if they were doing what the Dominicans doing, because that's the Dominican nature. That's who they are. So they're playing to their authentic nature. Same way with Venezuela. USA stoic to where like, yeah,
Wouldn't it be nice to just see him give a shit though? Like not even in the sense of it like being fake. It's like, yeah, we know you guys make millions of dollars, but can you guys at least act like you still have fun playing the game? You look like you have to be there. You look like you don't want to be there.
I do agree in that sense, but I'll tell you what, if there's a big double by Gunnar Henderson, who we'll get into needs to be in the lineup, I think you'll see that passion. I mean, you saw it against Venezuela in 23 when Trey Turner hit that homer. So it's like, I think they're just waiting for the moment because it's like, they've really only had that Schwarber home run. Like Canada, Bender getting out of that jam, that was pretty electric. You saw his emotion to where we're just going to have to see. Now, if they hit a big homer and it's just your beloved Roman Anthony, who I love, and he just goes like this, that'll piss me off a little bit because it's like, all right, dude, you're not too cool for school. And that's not only Roman, that's Bryce, that's Schwarber, that's Bobby Witt. But I don't think they're going to have that reaction today against the Dominican.
Well, that's if Bryce can just stop guessing at the plate, honestly.
He was so close on that first at bat. I love Bryce Harper. You're right. He needs to come up in the moment. But also, Philly needs to stop turning their back on the guy that saved that shitty franchise. And I can say that because I was a part of that shitty franchise for 11 years not making the playoffs. He doesn't come to Philly, we do nothing. Granted, he has to step up. And I've been critical of Bryce. You know that, Ryan. I've been coming on the pod saying it how it is. But I think we've gone a little bit too far. He smoked that ball. Does the fastball concern me in the sense that he's getting blown away? Absolutely. It's the only thing I think about. But I think he's going to come up big in this moment. And we'll get into Luis Severino. Harper owns Severino. I was in the building when he took him dead center 440. Like, Severino's going to get rocked.
I guess my thing is with Bryce, that seeing him lace it yesterday as ball players, like you know that sometimes you just need good contact and you know that your swing is bad because not every swing is going to be. Not every hit is going to be a hit. It's going to find a glove sometimes. And sometimes those loud outs just kind of get you back in a rhythm of like, all right, that didn't go my way, but that felt good.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to recreate that. I'm going to look for that same pitch. I'm going to try to let me go look at that swing again, keep the same motion through. And Bryce is a very analytical guy. And for whatever reason, he just hasn't been patient and he just hasn't been getting the pitches he's been looking for. He's been trying to force the pitches that he wants by either getting himself into shitty counts swinging himself into shitty counts, I should say, because his patience is just not there. He's kind of just swinging just for the sake of swinging. He wants the
Yeah.
Team USA home run so bad, but it's like I was angry at Bryce at first, but after seeing the line drive, it's just like I kind of just feel bad.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, we've played baseball. You know, when you're in a slump and it's mental, nothing's going to work. But when it does work, it's the quickest switch ever to where it's like everything's going to be okay. To where if Bryce gets that big hit in the first inning, I think it's going to turn the tables. And let's get into the quick USA Canada game. Obviously, the USA does what it does. It jumps out to a semi early lead, 3-0. And then they just don't tack on. They just don't tack on against Canada. Canada's not a good team. I love what they did in the WBC. Respect to Canada, except for the Blue Jays fans who were killing me for Ernie Clement. All right, dude, like get it out of your freaking mouth. But it's just they have had the same blueprint the entire tournament. They haven't done what they need to do. Things change in baseball. And wouldn't it be so poetic for the USA to get off their ass to finally lock in the biggest game? Because essentially, I think whoever wins this game wins the championship. That is no disrespect to Venezuela. They are a very good team. I love what they're doing. They clinched their bid in the 2028 Olympics. But this is it to where it's like, I really think this is the time USA locks in.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right because this is the game that has to. It is the championship game. If we play Italy, it'll be a revenge game. I feel like that'll be the game where they get their head out of their asses, and I'd be excited for a Venezuela game. Seeing Willier as a Red Sox fan hit that homer was absolutely. I was out all night last night. One of my coworkers had a show for her birthday, so we all went out to go do that. But I'm getting the updates on my phone, and you texted me when he hit it. All I got was a Willier. And
Yo,
I
it
went
was
to go look at it, and he hit a nuke, dude.
dude.
A
Well, it's like once
nuke.
Japan went up 5-2, I just kind of felt like, okay, dude, like they're gonna win it. Like the tournament wants Japan in the final just for global reasons, but Venezuela, like, and then when the check three or check swing call on Acuna, that kind of pissed me off because granted he might have slightly swung, but it's such a judgment call to where you don't take the bat out of Ronald Acuna's hand in this kind of tournament. So it was like looking like okay, they're gonna sway to Japan, they're gonna give Japan it, and then that changed with that one swing because then it's like okay, Venezuela's gonna win. Venezuela is here to play. They are the better team than Japan. Japan looked like not a good fundamental baseball team, and that's their entire makeup. They were throwing the ball all over the place, so that was a great game. But let's get into the pitching matchup because we've always talked about pitching this entire tournament. I will give Mark DeRosa credit in the sense of how he's lined up Paul Skeens. I don't think he knew it, but I'm sure like people talking to him knew it was probably always going to be the Dominican and the United States in the semifinals. And we talked about that because Japan wasn't going to be on that side of the bracket no matter what, just because they said geographic purposes. No, they wanted them in the final. But now you got Skeens lined up. He's set to go 75 to 80 pitches. Obviously, you'd like him to go the full game, but we know in this time in March, like they're not going to allow him to do that. If Skeens gets quick outs, he could go 5. I think the blueprint is Skeens for the 5th. If he can get through 5, Griffin Jacks, Garrett Whitlock, David Bender, Mason Miller. That is the blueprint. That is what they need to follow. All those relievers have very good stats against the Dominican lineup. Now, granted, once you actually see them in this kind of atmosphere in Miami, I don't think the United States players have ever played in this kind of atmosphere. I get it. The playoffs, the World Series, it is unbelievable. Nothing compares to that Dominican crowd. Who they play last? Was it Korea? Dude, like the video I saw on Twitter, that crowd is a World Series crowd times 2. So, can the relievers lock in? I don't know. What's your thoughts on Skeens and the bullpen kind of going into this game against the greatest lineup ever assembled?
Well, I was listening to WIP yesterday, and honestly, it was a good point brought up. It was I don't think I've ever seen Paul Skeens pitch poorly. Like, I don't think I've honestly ever seen him have a bad game yet. So going up against this Dominican lineup, I have a full confidence in Paul Skeens. I would love to see a bunch of strikeouts, but considering the pitch count, I just kind of want him to keep it on the ground or keep it soft fly balls to find outfielders' gloves. But nevertheless, I love that blueprint that you just came up with bullpen wise. Whitlock has been shut down for the Sox for the past couple of seasons. He was a closer a couple of seasons ago, actually, before he got hurt, and then we got Chapman. But
Yeah.
he's probably going to be a really good setup guy for Chapman going into the season. Bednar, I have my opinions on Bednar considering he's a Yankee, but even then, with that put aside, he's one of the best closers in baseball, and then Mason Miller is the best closer in baseball. So it's apropos that those guys are going to be going in one after the other. Jesus, excuse me.
Yeah, no. And then Skeens, hitters against him that are in the Dominican lineup, 4 for 32 with 10 Ks in his career. Now, Tatis and Machado have not faced Skeens yet. And you see what Tatis is doing in this tournament. He's batting like over 400, OPS over 1,000, to where it is going to be just absolute cinema. But let's get into the other starting pitcher, to where I feel like this leans into the United States advantage. Luis Severino. Hitters are batting. This is total. This is the normal lineup. This is without Gunnar, and we're going to get into Gunnar. They are hitting 309 for a 991 OPS. But if you add Gunnar, Gunnar is 7 for 9 with I don't even know the OPS, but he's 7 for 9 against Severino. So he needs to be in this lineup. This is going to be my ideal lineup, and I'll let you kind of give me your thoughts if you want any changes, any movement. But Witt's going to be batting first at shortstop. I'm going to keep Bryce in the 2-hole. I'm going to ride with Bryce. Got to. Judge batting 3, Schwarber batting 4, Roman batting 5. I think Roman needs to go up a little bit, and I want to get more of the lefties in there to start the
Okay.
game just because you got Severino. Alex Bregman has struggled against Severino, and he's kind of struggled this WBC, but I'm keeping him in there just because of his postseason success, his kind of been there, done that. He's one of the guys, but I'm putting Gunnar at second. I love Bryce Terang, but I think eventually the hot streak is going to run out, and I do not want that to be against the Dominican Republic. And Gunnar Henderson batting 7 for 9 against Severino, he needs to be in the lineup regardless. Now, if you were to keep Bryce Terang at second and put Gunnar at third, I'm completely okay with that. I just don't see them sitting Alex Bregman in this game, how much magnitude it has. I just don't see them doing it. Cal Riley, I have him batting 8th because he doesn't have a hit this WBC, but I think the cold streak's going to run out. I think the back of the baseball card eventually comes back to the mean. But if they put Will Smith, I'm not going to be upset because I think Will Smith is playing better than Cal this tournament. But the way they've been going with the catchers, I think Cal's going to get the start. And then I got Pico Armstrong batting 9th. Now, I just think the lefty matchup, and I think he's a slightly better defender than Byron Buxton, but I'm not going to be upset if Byron's in there because Byron has only played like 1 game, I believe, and obviously not good, but Byron Buxton is very good, like to where it's almost like pick your poison in the sense. So that's the lineup I got rolling with if I was Mark DeRosa.
Honestly, I wouldn't have Bregman in the lineup at all, just considering how he's been this WBC. I would put Gunnar over at third, and then I would have Bryce Terang slot in at second base, and I wouldn't have Cal Raleigh. I would have Will Smith, just due to how you said you would have Bregman in the lineup for postseason success. Why not have a guy who's been a World Series MVP and an NLCS like demon coming in
Yeah.
and playing in probably the biggest game of Team USA's lives at the moment? So I don't mind the lineup that you put out there. I'm not putting Bryce in the 2-hole. If I'm batting Bryce in this lineup, he's hitting no higher than 6th. Because at this point because at this point he has proven to me that this isn't the Bryce Harper that can be a guy that can protect a Bobby Witt. This isn't even a Bryce Harper that can protect a Pete Crow Armstrong right now. So he has to genuinely prove it to me that he can get back into that 2-hole. And he can do that by hitting a home run in the 6th spot when Roman Anthony gets on with a fat-ass double. But go ahead and make your point.
So I understand everywhere you're coming from. I just think with Harper's success against Severino, I think you want to get him as much at bats possibly because I think Severino is probably going to go through the lineup twice because the Dominican has a really good bullpen. So that's also going to play into the matchup of like, is our bullpen better? Is their bullpen better? It just depends what they're going to do tonight. So I want Bryce Harper in there. And I mentioned this on the last episode. I think you just have to rock with your guys because if you drop Bryce down with all that's going on with his quote unquote struggles, and he has struggled, but he smoked the ball to the wall. He just missed a homer to where if that ball goes out, I think there's no discussion. Harper probably has 2 more hits that game, and you're looking at him as he's going to lead us to the championship. I just think if you dropped him down in the lineup, that would only mess with his mental more. And I guess you are like, well, he's a big leaguer. He's on Team USA. He'll get over it. I get that. I just would keep him in the 2 hole just for the sense of getting that first at bat against Severino and possibly 2.
I mean, I guess I'm getting your point now about moving Bryce down because if anything, he's kind of proven that he's a diva and kind of an emotional brat. So if you move him down in the lineup, he's just probably going to be like crying and like throwing a temper tantrum in the clubhouse. But Mark DeRosa didn't put me in the 2 hole. Now I'm
Come
gonna.
on, with this needs to stop with my beloved Bryce. He's a good man.
I'm
He
not
saved the
saying.
city.
Look, I'm not saying he's not a good man,
He's a
but it's
father of 3. He's a father of 4. He's a good man.
he's also the father of genuinely ruining hopes for Team USA.
Oh, not yet. Not what he's going. This was always the blueprint. This was always the script. He's going to struggle. And then when the lights are brightest against the Dominican Republic in Miami in Lone Depot Park with 45,000 crazed Dominicans, good God, banging their drums, doing all that, which is what I love. I love what they're doing. Their atmosphere is unbelievable. I wish some USA fans would take that to the MLB season, to the postseason. This is his moment. This is his moment. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong because I've always bet Harper home run every single game, money line. And I'm going to do it again. And I might put a decent amount of money on it to where that's just going to make me watch the game even more. Because when you got money on it, dude, in this economy, you needed the cash.
Yeah, it's like I get what you're saying, but like in the same vein, like if I had wheels, I'd be a wagon. Like Bryce Harper just needs to show that he would. I need to see the Bryce Harper that won an MVP in Philadelphia. I need to see the Bryce Harper that I actually thought was going to show up wearing that not elite bullshit. I need the Bryce Harper that actually is elite because Bryce Harper isn't elite anymore. Bryce Harper is becoming average.
Well, I mean, 844 OPS, I wouldn't call average.
Well, I mean, was that last season's OPS?
That was last season. Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about the projections for this season. And if he looks anything like he looks right now, Bryce Harper will be an average baseball player going into this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think, you know what's crazy? And I don't want this to happen, obviously. But if Bryce struggles today and we lose, I think he's going to have a great start to the year because it's like it can only go up from here. But the fastball, like being late on it, does concern me because it's like, is the bat speed dropping? It dropped slightly last year. It wasn't enough to where that could be A B correlation to why he struggled a little bit. So I don't think the bat speed is that too much of an issue because I think it's early in the year. He's still working on things. But if he does struggle tonight and they lose, I'm still very confident he's going to have a really good season in Philadelphia. But it's like, it does worry me in the sense of this is like the moment. This is the biggest game to where even when Bryce Harper, like you saw what he did in game 2 of the division series, he had a base running mistake. He essentially like ended the game, but he then was given the opportunity based on Orlando Arcia's comments about Attaboy that he had the chance to redeem himself. I believe he has that chance now, tonight, 8 o'clock versus Dominican. And if he doesn't come through, that's going to be like, okay, you can have the greatest mentality in the world, but if your skill level's not there, it doesn't matter. So this is a huge game.
Yeah, I don't want it to seem like I'm rooting for Bryce Harper's downfall. I'm not. I'm really rooting for him. But it's like if what you just said does happen, like if he struggles and then we do lose, it's just I'm not gonna be surprised. Like the first couple games, I was like, "Huh, where's Bryce? Like, what's he doing?"
Yeah.
But now it's just like, "Oh, this is just how he's playing now." But we need him to come back because I just looked over the lineup again for the Dominican Republic, and I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. I'm scared.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let's go through it. Tatis, who is having the best WBC out of everybody? Ketel Marte. He's so good, dude. Like, it's unbelievable.
Generational talent.
Just what he does at the plate. And it sucks that he's a Met because I love rooting for Juan Soto. Even when he was in Washington, I still enjoyed what he did in the playoffs because I'm a guy, every team except the Mets and Braves, I'm going to be kind of not rooting for, but if you have a player that can kind of elevate the game, be like generational, I love that. But now he's on the Mets to where it's like when he has those big moments for his major league team, I want nothing but failure. So that's just a point. Sucks that he's on the Mets, but love him on DR. Not tonight, but if he goes in the championship game, I'll be rooting for him. Vladdy, Vladdy's a big game player. You saw what he did in the postseason. One of the greatest postseasons by a right-handed hitter you will ever see. Manny Machado, having a decent WBC, but he's a big game player. Like
He's
he's
been
been
really
there.
good defensively, honestly.
Unbelievable that he's still doing that at that age. Because Manny, he could have played shortstop, but he went to third base for San Diego because Tatis was there.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, but then Junior Caminero, I could see his fat ass just hitting a
I said that Junior Caminero was going to have a fantastic year going into this season because he blew it up last year. He broke out last year. This is going to be the year where he may get MVP votes if the Rays are in any sort of playoff contention.
well, he's the guy like obviously he had like 40 homers. The OPS was under 900 to where it's like that doesn't really correlate, but it makes sense. He's a free swinger. But I think that plays in this tournament because the thing about these tournaments, playoff baseball, it's like anyone can do anything at any given moment. That's why I think Castellanos had such success in the playoffs because he said, F it, dude. I'm swinging. If it's in the dirt, if it's in the zone, either I'm going to hit a homer or I'm going to strike out. To where I think Caminero kind of fits that similar mold. Obviously, a much better player than Castellanos. So he scares me today. Julio Rodriguez, again, had a really good postseason to where it's like he's been there, he's battle tested, and then what he does in center field is unbelievable. Austin Wells sucks, but whatever. And Perdomo at shortstop, we saw what he did in Arizona. He's just a damn good baseball player to where it's like it's your best versus your best. It's the best USA versus the best Dominican. The Dominican's going to be there. Now it's time for that USA lineup to actually lock in. Because obviously, in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather this be the time they get hot than Great Britain against Canada, against Italy, because we are going to win those games regardless. Not Italy, but this is the time to where you need your A game, to where it's like, I feel like, in my opinion, this might be wishful thinking. It's all coming to a head now. Everyone got out of their ass. Everyone almost lost, almost did not make it out of pool play, to now this is their chance to finally lock in. And this is going to be, if it's one of those close games back and forth, whoever wins, this has the chance, and this is not hyperbole, to be the greatest baseball game ever played in the history of the game. Like, that is how big this is because it's the Dominican, it's the United States, it's the countries, it's the celebrating versus the stoic. It's like, it's everything. So I'm just so excited.
Yeah, considering that we just had one of the best games in baseball history to close out the 2025 season, it would be really nice to have one of the best games in baseball history to almost open the 2026 baseball season in general. But yeah, honestly, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm beyond excited for this game. Obviously, the DR versus USA energy for baseball is always there. It's America's pastime, but we always see the prospects signed in from the Dominican Republic that blow up and become these unbelievable players. Like we've seen it from as early as the 90s, and now we're seeing it now to an influx to where it's almost like a joke, to where it's like you hear about an international signing, you don't even think about it. It's Dominican Republic. You don't
Yeah.
even need to think about it. And it's disrespectful to the other nations to a degree, but it also just shows that the level of talent that's coming from this one specific nation. And the Dominican Republic, they've always been a really good offensive team. Pitching has always kind of been the question mark there. Even when Sandy Alcantara was really, really good, there was always still a question mark with the rest of the guys behind him. And not having to deal with an ace on the hill should absolutely revitalize this team. And we should tee off on Luis Severino. This isn't the Luis Severino that I saw in Trenton pumping 100 miles an hour just about to get called up to the Yankees. It's not that same guy anymore. This is a veteran Luis Severino who's probably barely topping out at 97, 98 these days, which is still great velocity, but it's not enough to get by a supposed juggernaut in Team USA. And I say supposed because we've only dropped 15 runs against Brazil. Like, I don't think we've had double-digit runs the rest of this series. Dominican's done it almost every game. So we need to lock in batting-wise, and we better hope that Paul Skeens is on it again tonight, because all he needs to do is not give up 3. That's all
Yeah.
he needs to do. And I think those guys that you laid out bullpen-wise should be able to shut the door as long as Paul Skeens doesn't give up more than 3 runs. And as long as we can score more than 3 runs, that's the big one.
Exactly, dude. We only scored 5 against Canada. Canada, dude.
Canada.
Oh, man. But I'm just getting giddy just thinking about that crowd, man. Because it's like, because I got tickets to the final, right? If USA loses tonight, I'm reselling those, making a profit. I'm a businessman. But I was hoping it was Dominican versus United States because, like, we'll be in the final. I know that's not how it would have worked out, but just being in that crowd because, like, this is their World Series. Us as fans, I think I speak for you as well. We care more about our individual team. I know I do more than anything. That flag is the flag I'm representing. Also, love Jesus Luzardo turning down the offer to pitch for Venezuela in the semifinals. That's great
Hmm.
because, he just signed a 5-year, $135 million contract. We have priorities in South Philadelphia, but it's just going to be one of the best games, best atmospheres in the entire history of baseball. So I'm excited. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Who are you rooting for? Is it DR? Is it the United States? Because I've seen some people, even United States fans, which is also despicable if you're rooting against your own country. Just seeing how they've been playing, seeing it's like no emotion to where they're kind of rooting against the United States, which also is just awful. But I'm just let us know what you guys think. That'll do it for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs. Ryan, it's going to be a good one. 8 o'clock. Get your popcorn ready.
Absolutely. You enjoy this baseball. Like Owen said, subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment, leave a like. Owen, you also enjoy some baseball. And I will catch you and y'all viewers in the next one.
Later, buddy.
See you.